Okay,
stuff, but
sure.
you were here today. You did a virtual testimony. For
Did
what's going
virtual
on
testimony,
in DC.
and before that, we're talking about the new health clinic.
Okay.
We're gonna stand up here.
Okay.
So we're excited about that.
So you want to talk to me about what specifically you talked about in that testimony and why you wanted to make sure and come here today and do it at East Palestine High School?
Well, I decided that I wasn't going to go out to Washington and do it. I thought we could. They said we could do it remote. It made sense to do it here. And in the testimony, I really wanted to give, members of the public and the Senate some idea of what this community is like and what kind of trauma that really has been imposed on the people of this community by this train wreck. And I think it's kind of hard to understand unless you've been here. So I wanted to be here and just kind of describe that in in 3 or 4 minutes. What this train wreck has really meant to the community.
We're hearing that it's still going to be a couple more months for the site to be cleaned off. There's a lot of trucks going up and down there. Do you think things are moving fast enough? Or are you just constantly pushing to get it done?
They're never moving fast enough, but they're moving. And when you go up there and just look at the trucks going in and out, as I'm sure you've done, there's a lot of activity that's going on. And every time I come here about once a week, sometimes more than that. I see changes, I see movement. So, yeah, it's moving forward. Well, I think where this has to go, there needs to be a fund set up, and I've talked to the CEO about this. I think he agrees, and the faster a fund gets set up, I think the better off people are, because then they can have confidence that the money is there. If something happens in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Sure.
And there's all kinds of litigation that's going on, but they can set up a fund now and then just kind of roll that into whatever the final settlements of these class action cases that have been filed. And for the people who don't have any kind of symptoms, when you talk to them, as I know you guys have, their concern is what happens in the future. What happens if I get cancer because of this, or something else happens to me? So I think the goal has to be, and I've expressed this publicly, expressed this to railroad, people, what they really want is to have this community back where it was before this train derailment occurred. Now, that's not entirely possible, but I think the goal should be to do everything that can be done. And the railroad has that obligation to put the people back to where they were before the train wreck. They did. I mean, it's their problem now, but they did not create this. The railroad created it.
And just a quick question, has Norfolk Southern been open to that idea of a fund?
Yeah, they have been. I mean, it's not happened yet, but I mean, I can't speak for them, but as in my conversations, they're open. They know this is where it has to go. I mean, if you look at other environmental, situations where there's been something go wrong, like it certainly did here, there's ultimately a fund set up, because you need to be able to project this into the future. Now, what we're doing today and what we announced today with the new clinic is really kind of upping the grade of the clinic to a real full service operation, so that anybody in this community can go in and get the help that they need, whether it has anything to do with this or not. One of the things the fire chief has expressed to me, he wants to get a baseline. He says there's 300 first responders that responded. You got them coming from Pennsylvania, you got them from coming all over this area. So they need to get a baseline. They need to get in. So there's a discussion today going on.